What's up? Welcome to Tales to Morrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. I've been doing this channel for a couple of months now, and it has been going pretty well. Originally, this whole channel started as just an experiment, a test. I didn't expect the test to be so fun. So without further ado, let's keep the test rolling and get to some RPG horror stories for today. I said my character was on her period in a campaign and got kicked for it. I'm the only female player in my D&D group. My character has been sexually harassed and approached by orcs wanting to have sex because I am playing a female elf. Whenever I say something about it, the DM says he's just trying to play a realistic game. It doesn't happen often enough, make me want to leave. Why does this sound familiar? It sounds like a hentai game, specifically about orcs and elven ladies. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I don't know why the DM is doing this. I mean, here's the thing, right? If it's not adding anything fun to your campaign, what's the point of having it? Anytime somebody puts a realism into their game or realism, it usually adds something annoying or stupid or not fun, and I feel like we need to have less realism. Survival mechanics can be kind of fun, but as soon as you start adding taxes, paperwork, and sexual harassment and catcalling, that doesn't really become fun at all. We're about to fight a vampire when he said he smelled blood. I joked that it was me he was smelling as I was on my moon cycle after the vampire flirted with me, and the DM asked why he would smell me over the others and what a moon cycle was. I looked at him straight in the face and said, because she's on her period, and so she's bleeding. For DM that's toting realism, it's kind of surprising that he doesn't know or doesn't get the clues. DM, it's a cycle on a female character. How do you not know? All the other players acted like this was the grossest thing I've ever said. Even though they have heard me describe disembowelments before, my DM looked at me and said that elves don't get period. Right, DM, sure, whatever. Of course, everybody gets periods except the elves, because that's realism, right? I said that they're humanoids with an ovulation cycle, and I was just trying to play realistic. Oh my god. And yeah, I guess in a way it's kind of gross, but hey, like the player said, they're trying to play realistically. And they were joking around. Like the DM was saying that the vampire was smelling blood in the water. And the player was like, yeah, it's probably me on my menstrual cycle, or what they call the moon cycle. Cleverly worded. Love it. The DM asked me to leave. Over a moon cycle, over a period joke. He just couldn't handle it. He's like, leave. After leaving the Roll20 and Discord server, I looked it up, and Ed Greenwood, the creator of the Forgotten Realms, sells elves do menstruate. What is that a thing we even gotta look up? I mean, what does it matter? I mean, listen, the player was already dealing with realistic harassment. They were just trying to play it up and have a little bit of fun by adding their own level of realism into the game. I can't believe other players are like so grossed out about it. And for the DM to be so grossed out about it, to basically force the player to leave. I guess that level of realism is not good enough then. It's a little bit too much. I guess you gotta leave the table then. For real though, it sounds very absurd when your justification for harassing the only female player at the table is through the word of realism, because it's realistic to get catcalled. I don't think it's really a good justification enough, because getting catcalled and sexually harassed in a game of all things doesn't add anything to your player, doesn't add to their experience. Is there a story reason why that's happening? Is there a narrative reason why it should happen? Is there a mechanical reason why it should happen? If no, then you probably should just not do it in the first place. It's not that hard to avoid being a crappy DM. All you gotta do is just not do these crappy things that players aren't enjoying or doesn't add to the story or to the narrative in the slightest. I'm still under the notion that if you're gonna have have sexual harassment in your game, you better make sure that everybody at some capacity gets affected by it, or just not at all. Sometimes you do want to have jerk NPCs that want to act specifically scummy, and that's fine. I've had jerk NPCs on my campaigns as well, and I want the players to dislike them. I want the players to see them as antagonists, as some sort of a block in the road, as an impasse. That's fine. Nothing is wrong with creating somebody to be an antagonist for the sake of being an antagonist. But you gotta keep it fair. You can't just single out your one female player and have them be sexually harassed because it's just a female player. Or just, hey, guess what? Not add sexual harassment in the first place. Add other ways that people could be dealing with realism, such as survival mechanics or taxes. Actually, don't do that. None of that stuff sounds fun. If whatever you're adding doesn't add something fun to the campaign or for the players to engage with, you should probably not add it. Realism be damned. If it doesn't add anything fun to the campaign, toss it out. If it does, keep it, because players are having fun with it, and that's what matters at the end of the day, that your players are having fun in the campaign. But I learned something today that it was officially confirmed by Ed Greenwood, of all things, that elves indeed do menstruate. Fun fact! Let's get to the next story for today. Murderhobo saves the day from disgusting goblin wizard. I've been playing D&D with my typical D&D group for years now, most of the time at my house. I've gotten used to all the quirks and playstyles. Two players in particular tend to be either the Edgelord Murderhobo or the cringy wannabe frick boy of the party, or both, and they tended to back each other's antics up. Well, this most recent campaign was set in a sort of a modern Zelda-inspired post-apocalyptic world. So there was a medieval Renaissance feel with some weirdly futuristic stuff splattered in there. The first Murderhobo rolled up a goblin wizard. The second Murderhobo rolled up a bugbear barbarian. I played as a tiefling rogue, and the other relevant player was a human bard. There were two other players who were not relevant to this story. We started this campaign about 5 months ago, and despite the antics of the bugbear barbarian and goblin wizard, things went relatively smoothly. During the campaign, we went on a reconnaissance mission to a secret facility that stretched from the surface world to the Underdark. It was also filled with hostile warforged and automatons. We had to go back to the nearby town to tell our allies what we found, so we could formulate a plan to retake it by a coordinated siege that would draw out the enemies. Goblin Wizard didn't like the strategy and preferred a raid, so he killed the town's leader with Bugbear Barbarian's help, and declared himself Emperor of Town, and demanded that they do the raid his way. This obviously didn't go over well. We became fugitives of the town as the people rallied against us in defense of their leader. Okay, before we continue, I got a question. Where is the DM in this point? Is the DM AFK, asleep, or both? The DM clearly must know that two other players are murder hobos, but why are they allowing them to just do whatever they want and have everybody else suffer for the consequences of the two other players? It's been actually pointed out before in the comment section by y'all that some of the other DMs in previous stories have been very lax with some of the problem players, like the rogue that called everybody a pedo just to justify the murders. So that kind of got me on a high alert with these sort of stories, and yeah, I got a question. Where's the DM doing this? Why are they allowing this? Are they cool with it? Are they in on the whole thing? Do they want the murder hobos to be able to do whatever they want? Is that how the DM gets their kicks, just watching the murder hobo do some crazy stuff? What is the DM thinking about this? What is the DM's response to this? And the only reason these players are able to do this is because the DM allows them to do this. They just go along with their nonsense. And that affects everybody's enjoyment, because now everybody is forced to do the raid instead of doing something else they wanted to do. Any sort of semblance of choice what the party could do together is kind of thrown out the window because these two murder hobos decided for everybody and nobody else can do anything about it, I guess. So we, the party, decided to take down the warforges and automatons in a more stealthy way by taking some alternative Underdark routes to the secret room to shut down the warforge and automatons. Infiltrating this facility was very important, so we all threatened the Goblin Wizard and make it clear that if he does anything insane like that again, that it interferes with our mission, the party will kill him. The only party member who stood by Goblin Wizard, of course, was Bugbear Barbarian. However, we still outnumbered them and we could kill them both if they went too far. Okay, well, I mean, at this point, I feel like the DM is just completely AFK or taking an entirely passive role here, just letting the players do whatever they want. I don't know. Or maybe they're playing with like an AI, or they're playing with somebody that's extremely passive that generally has no control of the game. They're just narrating what the players are doing, which I think is the current situation in this story. But anyway, let's continue. A few weeks after that, Human Bard's player, uncle, and younger cousin were coming to visit. His cousin was 12 and was curious about D&D. so he asked if he could play with us for the 3 sessions he'd be in town for. We were all cool with it, but the DM warned us to tone down some of the content that wouldn't be appealing to new players or appropriate for children. We all agreed, and the cousin came. We prepared to climb through the secret facility from the Underdark to the surface world, which would lead us to the secret room. We rolled up a drow paladin to fit with the Underdark theme. When we made it back to the surface world, we made it to the secret room, and was filled with scientists. We were planning to sneak up on them and take them hostage to interrogate them, but Goblin Wizard, who was kind of drunk in real life, then forced us into combat by casting Fireball and killing the scientists. And you will never guess who helped him. The rest of the party berated the Goblin Wizard and Bugbear Barbarian. Although they were hesitant to kill them because there was a legitimate case for killing these scientists because they controlled the Warforge and automatons. And yet again, where's the DM in this whole thing? Completely absent. Completely entirely absent. Listen, problems will arise and problem players will be a thing, but the DM needs to know how to find the problem players, reel them in, and make sure they're not ruining fun for everybody, especially when the guy's drunk at the table. Of course, he's not gonna be thinking clearly, especially when somebody's drunk at the table. DM, you gotta have some semblance of control for the game. If there's a problem at the table, you gotta be the one to deal with the problem and reel them in or tell them to stop. But the DM is doing none of that from the story. There was, however, one scientist who was barely still alive. She was an elf, so we demanded that the Murderhobos let her live, or we'll kill them both. Goblin Wizard then laughed and said, "No worries, I'm not gonna kill her," as he bounded and gagged her. And he said, "After I tie her up and gag her, I savor her feeble attempts to scream. I rip off her coat, I'll pull my pants down, and yank out my pee-pee. And then, DM cuts him off and says, no, just no." Oh wow, the DM is alive! The DM has a pulse! Incredible! Okay, let's see what the DM does in this situation. Goblin Wizard then says, "Relax, I have telepathy, so I can read her mind. Trust me, she wants it." Those are screams of desire. God, I'm grossed out by this goblin player. Jesus Christ, that is single-handedly the rapiest thing I've ever heard somebody say. Gross, dude. Ugh, I feel slimy just reading it. DM then says, "There's a kid here, dumbass." The kid's cousin also jumped in and said, "Yeah, seriously, cut it out. You're not funny." Goblin Wizard then just says, "Cover his ears then." The kid then just says, "It's okay, you don't need to be worried about me. I play Grand Theft Auto, so I'm used to it." Goblin Wizard then says, "See, he doesn't care. Now, where were we with this filthy elf bitch and her soon-to-be violated holes?" God, that is gross to read. Like, I know I'm putting on the voice and stuff, but like, this is vile. Then something happened that surprised me. The Bugbear Barbarian put his Murderhobo tendencies to good use and said, "I grab my war axe and chop the freaking goblin's head off like I'm snapping a spaghetti noodle." DM then promptly says, "Alright then, Goblin's dead, and now I'm getting tired, so it's time for everyone to go home." I then whisked Goblin's drunk ass into my car before he could even think to protest and drove him home without saying a word to him. On our group text the next day, Goblin Wizard's player tried to apologize and said he had way too much to drink before this session, but he was being funny in an edgy way. DM said, "Yeah, you're still banned for the foreseeable future." Goblin Wizard's player understood and personally apologized to the kid's cousin, again, our friend, but he was understandably angrier than the DM was and didn't want to talk to him at all. The kid enjoyed the game overall and he had since gone home, although he initially tried to advocate for Goblin to come back. I think he felt responsible for his banning. After that, we have gone back to semi-normal D&D, albeit without Goblin. Generally, I think it's good riddance, and here's the easy way to know if what you're doing is funny. Is everybody else laughing? No? Probably not funny. Probably not even funny in the slightest. I get this some things is like dry humor or cringe humor, but it's meant to try to elicit some sort of a positive reaction out of people and try to make them, have fun in some way. Like me, I love cringe humor. Cringe humor is my favorite. I love just saying something so cringy it makes people groan on purpose without being actually gross degenerate about it. I think it's hilarious. But there is a level of fucked up that you just kind of don't cross, and they even talk to the table, say like, "Listen, keep it on down low. We're gonna have a kid participating there and stuff. Whatever they do in private is whatever they do in private, that's fine. But if you're gonna be having a kid watching, regardless of if the kid played Grand Theft Auto or not, it doesn't matter what the kid has experienced, you still should try to be decent around the kid and not just be complete degenerate." The DM did a good job reeling the player in, but it does make me wonder, would the DM do that if the child wasn't there? Like, if they didn't have an audience member there, would the DM just let the goblin player do what they wanted to do? Or not? Maybe having a child audience there kind of flipped the switch in DM's mind or something. It seems like they allowed the Murderhobo and the Cringelord to just do whatever they want anytime they want to do it. It does make me think. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. I don't want to think too much about this whole thing. Misleading game description plus a dose of arrogance and condescension. I joined an online Pathfinder 2e group. I should have paid more attention when the GM scoffed at me using online tools to create my character and told me it wasn't necessary to plan out my character. If you don't know, Pathfinder 2 is a very crunchy system that expects players to put effort into constructing their characters. It's not technically required, but if you don't enjoy character building, you would probably be more happy with a different game system. Pathfinder is celebrated for being tactical and balanced. Besides the GM, I was the only person in the group who knew the rules. I look forward to helping the GM teach a new group of players. At the first gaming session, we roleplayed for 4 hours. This was fun, but I was happy to get to combat. It went downhill from there. The GM house ruled the initiative rules to use Dex instead of the PF rules. He then stated he would roll a new initiative every round. Tried to explain to someone the critical fail and critical success rule, and the GM informed me that we aren't using those rules. Now, I'm not an expert in Pathfinder 2e in the slightest, but from any of the videos that I watched trying to teach the system and how the combat works, it seems like critical fail and critical success are kind of integral to the combat for the game, which makes me wonder why the DM is not using that system. It is a little bit confusing. Maybe it doesn't have too much weight as I think it does, but I am completely unaware of the system. Gotta be honest, I'm very new to it. I know the general, just some basics of like classes and how the system works, and there's like a whole 3-action economy thing, and yeah, I'm very new to it. He used the Pathfinder world of Golarion as the setting, but he, without telling us, removed every other aspect of the game that made it identifiable as Pathfinder. We told him what we wanted to do, and he told us which die to roll. There was no mention of the 3-action game system. We were playing some made-up by him rules-light game. Took a few days to think about it, and I decided to drop from the group. I know there are people who enjoy games like this, and that's great. It just wasn't what was advertised. It wasn't what I was looking for. I tried to go to his house to get my miniature. He tried to convince me that we were playing Pathfinder. "You are not the arbiter of what is and is not Pathfinder," he said. Tried to convince me to stay. When that failed, he said it was a shortcoming of mine that I would not enjoy his game. He said this 3 times. I didn't want to argue, but I gave him some advice. Update your online game description so that next player will have the right expectations. That was really the problem. I had a good time, but the game was not what I expected, nor what I was looking for. It's kind of like when you're making a BLT sandwich, which has bacon, lettuce, and tomato, but you don't put bacon and tomato, it's just a lettuce sandwich. And somebody just gets mad, it's like, well, it's a sandwich, it's a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich, has lettuce in it, see, it's in the name, but if you're missing the other 2 core features, then it's just a lettuce sandwich. Have fun eating. I mean, if you enjoy that sort of thing, feel free to eat a lettuce sandwich, but if I'm getting a BLT, I want the bacon and the tomato. He took my advice and is updating the game description to be a personal attack on me. House rules, a word from our GM. My intent is to create an immersive story experience where all players can have fun, enjoy each other's company, socialize, and walk away wanting to see what happens in the next chapter episode. You are a good fit for this group if you want your character to grow as you experience the world of Golarion and meet NPCs. You'll be unhappy if you like spending hours building a character using spreadsheets or programs to ensure you can maximize all the right numbers, also known as min-maxing or munchkin play. Okay, hold on. This is a weirdly strange personal attack. I mean, if you don't want to play the Pathfinder system, don't play the Pathfinder system. Take the setting, sure, but play a different system if you want to focus on narrative and less crunchy play. Everybody that I know, probably people in the comment section could even tell us that Pathfinder 2e is known to be very crunchy, but it's kind of the fun part of it because you get to build a really intricate character with some really cool intricate combinations and things they can do. That's the fun part of it, and some people really enjoy that sort of crunchy play. If you don't enjoy that sort of crunchy play, there are other various systems you can play at all to be less crunchy. But just because the player is trying to build a character and focus on character building does not make it necessarily a min-maxer. If building a character and having intricate builds and intricate combinations is part of the game. You want to have fun playing and cooperating with others for mutual success. You'd be unhappy if you want to co-GM and adhere to every rule regardless of its impact on story or cadence. You love feeling like you're in an exciting story, play, book, or movie as one of the main characters and participating in the action. You'd be unhappy if you like to dictate rules, also known as rules lawyering. This guy is really upset at you, holy crap. For the record, the min-max character created using an online tool was a healing-focused cleric designed to support new players and help them be more awesome. Apparently offering to help him look up rules for a game system that was new to him outstepped my bounds. I never actually did this, because it quickly became apparent we weren't using the rules. His definition of a rules lawyer is someone who would like to know the rules of the game before we play. When he was telling me how much more awesome his game was than other people's, I wish I'd said, I prefer to play the game that was created by professional game designers and play tested and bounced for years over the game you cobbled together based upon it. Alas, I was too nice and just walked away. Final note, if you play in a rules light game and enjoy it, that's great. People should play whatever game system they enjoy. Just don't be arrogant and condescending about it. I can't really disagree with that. Play whatever system you want, play whatever system you enjoy. Make sure to let people know exactly the kind of system you got going on, because not everybody is going to be in on what you're playing initially. Though at the same time, the DM probably should have advertised this is going to be a personalized light system that is not going to have specific rules, and let you know which rules are not going to be adhered to. Nothing is wrong with playing whatever system you want, whether it be a modification of a current system or something that currently exists, as long as it be upfront about it and tell people exactly what they're going to be getting and what their expectations are going to be. Some people might be perfectly fine with the light system, as long as you tell them ahead of time in your post that's what you're going to be doing. These are going to be rules that are going to be adhered to. These are the rules that are going to be ignored. I feel like the OP probably should have left a lot earlier, as soon as it got to the point where it started becoming very clear that this is not going to be Pathfinder in the slightest. If you're looking for the system, that's fine. If you like the current light system, that's fine too. It's okay to be like, listen, it's just not for me. I'm going to go ahead and move on, go somewhere else. And that's fine. No drama is necessary. Though, with the DM like that, I guess you can't really avoid drama. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.